All right, so jumping into another Lorcana match, we're going back to DLC Richmond, and we're jumping into round 12 between RMB and Trevor. So RMB is sitting on this Amber Amethyst list. Trevor's running um, Emerald Sapphire, so some good old Baja Blast action here. So it'll be interesting to see how this series or how this match goes on. This is round 12, so this is the last round of Swiss for both players. So this game is very, very important to get players to that top 32 to be able to get to play in the standings. So again, if you like this content, want to see more Lorcana content as we go into Winter Spell, going into the next set, leave a like on this video, go ahead and subscribe, and then shout out to the Lorcana channel on Twitch. If you want to watch the full DLC from start to finish, you can go to their channel and watch the whole thing. So let's dive into this game. All right, so starting off, RMB just does a little inking action and passes over. And then Trevor starts off inking the Stop Chaos in its tracks, which tells RMB that, hey, this is not the normal list. RMB is obviously teammates with Sailor over on Maelstrom, so he knows what that Cinderella list looks like, and he knows that what Trevor just did is not part of that list. And on RMB's turn now, he lays down the Lantern, which is such a key piece of this Amber Amethyst deck. It lets you, whenever you exert it each turn, you're able to play a character for one less. So that means that Rafiki was technically free this turn. And then Trevor does the thing that the Emerald players always, that the Sapphire players always do, and he ramps, plays Tipo after getting rid of that. You're welcome, and we see the card on Trevor's hand. We see that Ink Geyser, and that Ink Geyser makes that's the difference in this blue green deck versus the Cinderella list, or even like the Pandemonium Detective list, is that Ink Geysers makes things very, very weird. You can see on RMB's side, able to get some more value out of that Lantern to get down Genie on turn 3, which just it just feels so bad. All right, so we see Trevor going down with Cinderella. So just going to continue to ramp up, and just going to do that blue-green thing where we play a card on 2, play a card on 4 to ramp again, get up to 6. And so he's going to be at 6 ink as RMB's inking to 4 here. But again, the good thing about this Amber Amethyst deck is it has that Lantern, which is almost a ramping effect in itself. It allows you to play the character, for one less, and we're going to see Elsa come down on turn 4 and exert that Cinderella and be able to hit it with the Rafiki, Quest of the Genie. And this is a great start. I mean, both players I think are okay with the way this game has started. However, I think we're about to see a shift cow here for 6 ink, which definitely feels good for the green blue player and gets to draw a card to get a little bit of value on this turn as well. And the only consideration there from Trevor is that, do I shift that cow that turn, or he could have used that Cinderella's ability, or I'm sorry, the Clarabelle's, the one cost Clarabelle ability to pay 2 extra to get rid of the Lantern, because now at this point, RMB gets to play World's Greatest Criminal Minds. Well, actually sing it with Elsa and just take out the Clarabelle for free. And then we see a Demona come down, where RMB is just going to refill his hand again here. And Trevor's board is just sitting here with a Tipo, and he's got 3 cards in his hand, which is definitely not what he's looking for here. And RMB gets to quest that Genie again. So now, RMB tempo-wise is in a really, really great spot. Has 3 very powerful characters on his board with the Genie, Elsa, and Demona, and Trevor's just staring back at him with a Tipo. Thankfully, he does. I don't know if he drew into that Clarabelle or had the Clarabelle, but thankfully he has it. And now he passes it back over to RMB and gets to draw a card. So let's see what RMB is going to be able to do from this point. So if he just quests out, he's got 10. He'll be up to 10 on the board if he quests out here. I would definitely expect the quest out here because, or at least with the Genie and the Elsa, because, what are you going to do? All right, so we see the lantern activated, and we get that. Oh, we get the Ursula come down, and the guidebook, and then yeah, we're gonna quest out to go to 10. And that Ursula character, the Ursula where you can boost it for 1 and it gains +1 lure and evasive, so it turns into a 4/5 that quests for 3 and evasive. That's a card that's really scary for the blue green player. However, he just drew into your welcome. But the problem is he's getting tempoed pretty hard here. The stop cows in the strat is interesting here because he could sing it with both of them and bounce back the Elsa and the Genie to R&B's hands. And he can play your welcome and just hard cast it, which I think he's going to do, and get rid of that Ursula and put that back to R&B's deck, and he's going to draw 2 more. So it was a great turn there from Trevor to take that very intimidating board that R&B had that was pretty close to what it was 3, 5, 6, 8. He was going to be 2 off from winning the game next turn if he quested out. Now this stalls the game out, which is what the green blue player wants. So stalls the game out, and he's going to be able to get a lot of value off of the Clarabelle draw this turn. Let's see what else he's going to do this turn. Puts down the Tipo, inks that last card in his hand, so now he's going to get to draw, I think, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Sure enough, with just the Demona out, and even worse is that the Demona was exerted, and R&B now has more than 3 cards in his hands. So now Demona can't even ready this turn. So Demona is just kind of a sitting duck there, and R&B has a ton of cards in his hand that he's probably not going to get rid of this turn. So Demona is probably just going to be sitting there for probably at least. Oh, that's a good card. The Mowgli comes down. Is going to be able to get a Under the Sea, which at this point in the game isn't that important. Under the Sea is just really nice into these purple matchups because it gets rid of the Genies and the Elsas for you. Which can be tough to get rid of as a green-blue player. Yeah, R&B's having to do a lot of what does that card do, which is fair because there's that Jasmine is the one that's I believe it's the one if you shift it, all exerted characters go back to your opponent's hand, which is just really good against dogs. All right, so now let's see. Yeah, World's Greatest Criminal Minds onto the Clarabelle. And then he still hasn't activated his Lantern this turn. Let's see if he's able to activate it and get something else down. He's not going to be able to. He doesn't have enough ink. All right, so passing it back over to Trevor. And, of course, that Demona still not going to be able to exert this turn or ready up at the beginning of next turn because he's got too many cards in his hands. So let's see what Trevor decides to do here. So we play down the Little Cow and a John Silver to give Mowgli Reckless. And now we can just quest out with the Tipos, get on the board there for the green-blue player to get the 2 and pass it back over to R&B. So now that Mowgli's going to have to hit into one of those Tipos unless he can sing something, which I'm not sure. I don't think there's going to be anything in his deck that he can sing for 2, which will let the other Tipo clean it up at next turn. And hopefully he can clear his hand out enough that this Demona can actually ready at the beginning of next turn. But he does still have a ton of cards in his hands. So that Demona is unfortunately still just kind of sitting there, which feels awful. All right, we're going to play a Genie. Oh, I didn't even notice the Clarabelle. The Clarabelle came down last turn, and he paid the 2 extra to get rid of the Lantern. I didn't notice that. So we see the Mowgli have to hit into the Tipo because that's reckless. But yeah, that was a great use of the Clarabelle there to get rid of the Lantern, which is going to stop R&B from dumping out his hand as fast as he was going to be able to before. Got to ink an Elsa here and play another Genie maybe. No, an Iago. Okay, Iago's a scary character, and it's a nice character out there that can, clear some board for R&B. We see another Clarabelle get drawn here for Trevor. I'm not sure what the hand sizes are for both players, if there's going to be any value that gets generated from that, but he can definitely shift it to, questing more is not bad. So I think if I remember his hand correct, I think he has that Jasmine Shift line and the Clarabelle in his hand now. So we see Clarabelle come down. Gonna ink the big Jasmine and just play the one Jasmine to give something +1 attack, which doesn't really matter. We're gonna quest with John Silver to give Genie Reckless, and we will take the Tipo into that Mowgli and go and take it out. And now let's just be able to quest out here with everything else to go up to 6. And yeah, it's just that like slow walk that the green-blue player does until they hit a critical mass on the board and can just like start chunking away at lore. But again, the Demona still can't ready this turn because it's still like R&B still has 4 cards in his hands. Trevor dumped his hand, so he was able to draw 4 there. Let's see, drew. Wow, okay, so that's not a great hand that he drew into. He drew into 2 Sails, a Tipo, and a Cinderella. So not a lot of great answers in that hand. Thankfully for him, he's doing okay. He's doing all right. All right, so now we see a little bit of cleanup here. Taking out the Clarabelle, taking out a little Tipo. We see a Dumbo come down as well. Wow, we see a double Dumbo. We're going to ink Horseman Strikes and play down the LOE and then pass it back over to Trevor. R&B was able to dump his hand a lot there, which means that Demona will finally ready up next turn. So we're going to see a Develop come down for Trevor. I think Improvise and something else. Yeah, he's going to keep that Improvise, which is going to snipe that Iago, which feels really, really good. Just the value of that is so good. Yeah, Improvise, come down, snipe the Iago. Oh, the Ink Geyser gets drawn here. That's really interesting. He could go, which would still make that Demona not be able to ready up, which would be really crazy. So he could go like double sail into Ink Geyser, which I think is what he's going to do. Double sail into Ink Geyser, and then he's just able to ink, re-ink. Yep, here we go. Ink Geyser comes down. So yeah, each player exerts all the cards in the inkwell, and then if they have more than 3, they return cards at random until they get to 3. Right. So the cool thing about that for Trevor is he now double sailed, so he's going to be able to get back up to at least 5 this turn afterwards. And I can't remember if he inked for turn first or not. But if he didn't ink for turn, he's going to be able to get to 6, which is crazy. Yeah, and this is where it's like doing this in person is really tough because it's like you could roll a die for every single one of them, but yeah, that's okay. Cool. So each player just chose 3 at random. The rest of those 3 cards stay in the inkwell, and then get all the rest of those back into their hands. Which again, Trevor's going to be able to ink twice here, which is it's just going to give him more Clarabelle value, which is crazy. And he drew back your welcomes. Oh my gosh, this is craziness. So he drew back 2 your welcome, so he could like double your welcome. He could double your welcome. He could play Stop Chaos and Strax again. Okay, so he inks one of your welcomes. Wow, he drew back all of those your welcomes. That is crazy. So he's gonna sing Stop Chaos in his tracks to get those Dumbos back to R&B's hand. And then I think he's gonna sing your welcome onto either Demona or the Genie here. Oh my gosh, he had another Stop Chaos in his track. That's crazy. So all the cards. Wow, that is nuts. And you can play a Tipo with those 2 cards he inked to ink another card. And ink for turn. That is an absolutely nuts turn from Trevor. And that's the power of this kind of Ink Geyser deck. It's like if you're able to pull off that sort of turn, that's basically that's just like the other player's basically just dead. Because he just was able to ramp back up to 6. R&B's at 3, and he's gonna draw like what 6 or 8 cards here from the Clarabelle. That is such a crazy turn. It's this version of green blue is I think a bit more on like I mean obviously all the green blue decks are a combo deck, but I think this is like a crazy combo going on here. Yeah, and Trevor just like has everything. Like it's absolutely crazy. Like there's nothing really R&B can do here. He's got so many cards in his hands, but he doesn't have enough ink to play enough of them. All right, so he plays out. He plays out 3 Eloise and a Rafiki for his 4 ink there. And I think Trevor was able to I think he's T-poed an Under the Sea earlier, and I think he drew it back out. So I think he's gonna be able to like either play it or sing Under the Sea this turn. So play a Cinderella. Inks a Donald. Plays a Donald. I could be wrong about the Under the Sea. Could be wrong about it. I'm not wrong about it. Here it comes. Under the Sea comes down, and all those cards are under. Okay, R&B scoops. That was gross. That was a gross turn by Trevor. I mean, that game was obviously tilting back in Trevor's favor. But that one turn with the Ink Geyser double sail and everything was very gross. So we'll let the players shuffle up their decks here, and we'll dive into game 2 whenever they're ready. All right, so both players have mulliganed here, and we'll see R&B on the play this time, getting down to Iloe on turn 1. Passes it over to Trevor, and let's see how Trevor plays here, going second in this game. Yeah, just like I don't know. I'm still trying to get over that Ink Geyser from last turn with the double sail. Like that's just absolutely. I mean, that is just the dream for that deck. Is to be able to hit that combo, and he absolutely did. We see the Kita inked from Trevor. Man, I like Kita a lot. I mean, obviously it's not the best card in the world, but if you can get it on the board and stick, and it's a slower matchup, like it's one of those cards that you can just ramp forever, and you get the filter as well. You get the ramp and filter, which is fun. So anyway, so Trevor inks the Kita, passes it back over. R&B is gonna get a nice quest there to go to 1. Inca Hades. Come down with that lantern and passes over to Trevor. So doesn't have another 1 cost in his hand to get any value out of that lantern on this turn. However, next turn is whenever he can start playing a 4 cost character on turn 3, which is really great. We see Trevor hit that sail. It draws into Improvise, and that's one of those cards that like you want to hold in your hand for whenever R&B plays that Iago. You know he's running it now, so you want to hold on to it, but it's a card that kind of clogs up your hands. All right, so we see the Jasmine come down and a Stop Chaos in his track, get inked there. And, like, for Trevor, his ink decisions become a lot, I don't want to say easier, but there's less repercussions for his inking actions because he's able to, he's able to Ink Geyser and get those cards back out, which is really cool. So we're going to see Trevor do the thing. So go into a Cinderella here on turn 3. And yeah, he's got a lot of good cards in his hand now. I didn't see exactly what he inked, but he held on to that Under the Sea this time, which is great. Draws into a Clarabelle, so he has the Clarabelle. It doesn't have the shift target for Clarabelle, unfortunately, or maybe he does. I see Donald Duck. Okay, no, he does. He has Donald Duck. Is Donald Duck, Under the Sea, and then the Clarabelles. So we'll see the Iloe support come down onto the Elsa, be able to take out Cinderella. We'll quest with Genie to go up to 4, and he'll pass it back over to Trevor. So this game is starting off very similarly to the last one. Let's see so Trevor drew into another sail here, but I imagine this turn has to be the Cinderella. Oh, just kidding. The Jasmine shift is really good. That's the one that's, if I remember correctly, yeah, it puts all of those cards back to R&B's hand. And R&B's having a good time. He knows how crazy that play is. So the Jasmine Shift, it does cost 5, but Trevor's able to ink and play the Clarabelle down. So next turn that shift is going to be available, and next turn Singing Under the Sea will also be available. All right, ink a Dumbo. He doesn't really need to draw cards with the Dumbo. Just kidding. He's going to take it back. Ink a Hades. So yeah, the Lantern hasn't really generated any value here from this turn. We see the Iloe come down. We see the Lantern activate onto the... Ooh, that's a great play. Onto onto the Elsa that was bounced back to his hands. And R&B's like, let me banish my Lantern for no reason. No. So yeah, the Elsa comes down and stops the shift, which means that no Under the Sea can be played this turn, which is great. We're still going to see the Clarabelle come down, obviously, and get 3 cards of value, but he can't play Under the Sea this turn, which is, I mean, again, it's not like R&B's board is just massive to get Under the Sea, but, if you can stop the value from being generated this turn, why not? So we'll see Trevor pass and then draw those 3 cards and then pass it back over to R&B. All right, so R&B is now sitting at, 5 ink. Looks like he has another Elsa, which I don't expect him to play because those five strength characters on Trevor's board is... Ooh, we see a World's Greatest coming to mind. That's really good. That's really good. So we'll see a Lantern play into a Genie. It's pretty good. Pretty good play. Ooh, we see a Guidebook as well, so we see some card draw if he needs it. Yeah, we're going to sing World's Greatest Coming to Mind onto that cow. See a Dumbo get inked into that Guidebook. Is he going to activate the Guidebook this turn? We are not. We're not going to activate the Guidebook. Pass it back over to Jasmine. Or to Trevor, and he's going to ready up his Jasmine, excuse me. We do have the Under the Sea in the hand, which he does have the ink to play it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. If he inks, which would clear the full board for R&B. So that is not the worst play to be done here. And it's tough because, for Trevor, you definitely don't want to get rid of that sail in your hands because it gives you so much good value. Gives you so much good value when the Ink Geyser, right? It's you want to keep it for the Ink Geyser turn. We see Under the Sea come down. Obviously, quest with the Jasmine to get up to 6 and pass it back to R&B, who's sitting on 2 cards in his hand. And Trevor's just doing a good job of just continuing to just get rid of R&B's board. Just continue to stall this game for longer and longer. In this game, Trevor even has a lure lead now while stalling this game. All right, so it looks like R&B is going to go double Lanterns, triple Lanterns. I mean, we might as well just start watching Rapunzel at this point, right? Let's see what he's going to do with this, right? So now he can play a 4-cost character for 1, which is what he did with the Dumbo. That's crazy. Passes it back over to Trevor. Trevor has that John Silver in his hands, but John Silver doesn't really do anything to Dumbos. So he can just use his ability. We see a You're Welcome in his hand as well. All right, we're gonna go ahead and sail. More for the... Wow, it draws into another You're Welcome. I think he has another one of those Jasmines in his hand, but doesn't have the shift. We'll see John Silver come down. Give Dumbo Reckless. We'll quest with Jasmine to go up to 8. And we'll pass it back over to R&B. So now, okay, so those 3 Lanterns for R&B become very, very helpful here. So now he's going to be able to generate a ton of value. Or I guess he didn't pass it over. He's still inking. So inked You're Welcome, and now he passes it back over. So activate Dumbo, draw a card. Now he's got to decide of how best to use his ink with the lanterns, which becomes some weird maths, right? Some weird maths that we don't usually have to deal with. Um, okay, so we see a World's Greatest Criminal Minds come down onto the John Silver. We see an Elsa come down. And I think that's going to be it for him this turn. But that will allow him to draw two cards with a Dumbo next turn. Well, he's going to ink the Horseman Strikes and pass it back over. All right, so we see a Clarabelle, but it's oof. It's what I'm saying. All these cards get some pretty rough value for Trevor now because like the Clarabelle's not going to draw because R&B's got one card in his hands. He could play Clarabelle and then like sing Your Welcome onto his own Clarabelle, which never feels great, but that might be his best option here, just to get some more card draw. So yeah, I think rough. This is a rough turn here, because it's a very awkward turn. All right, we see Jasmine exerting. Okay, so he's gonna shift Jasmine on the Jasmine to make that Dumbo go back to R&B's hands. When you play this character. Oh, so Jasmine not only bounces it not only bounces the opponent's characters back to their hand, but it also bounces your characters back to your hand if they're exerted as well. So he takes those Jasmines back. So he's able to ink one of those Jasmines, play a cow, play one of the Jasmines as well, or play the one cost Jasmine, and then we'll pass it back over to R&B, I think. So yeah, that's a really interesting turn there for Trevor. He's able to get that Jasmine back to his hands. And it's so fun. I think he just had to hand the card to the judge because the judge wasn't even really sure about how it played because it's such an obscure card, but it's really cool, especially for certain matchups here. So pass it back over to R&B. R&B definitely has a Dumbo in his hands, has the Elsa out right now. So like we expect one card draw to happen here at least for him. Interesting. So I think this might have been an issue here where it does say return all other exerted characters to their player's hands, which language-wise I think would mean that Jasmine doesn't get to return back to the hand on it, on the shift. Yeah, I think that's exactly what's happening here. So judges are just coming in to explain that and then try to clean up what happens here. Okay, so they're trying to roll back. So the judge is trying to find the Jasmine that he inked, playing that, exerts that. Okay, so we rolled back successfully. We'll see Cal come down, I think, still anyway. So Cal comes down, and he gets a draw for Cal now, which is not bad. And now he passes it over to R&B. So, okay. So that was an interesting play, but turns out it was a invalid play, which feels bad. All right. So back to R&B's turn. R&B gets down that Dumbo for one with his 3 lanterns, which is a crazy sentence. We'll see the Elsa go off of making history on Dumbo to get to draw a card. And the problem for R&B is like that Jasmine's just been sitting there and questing up to 10, and like other than World's Greatest Criminal Mind, like what can he really do about it? And he's already played, I think, 2 of those, but you know, I mean, because you definitely don't want to swing an Elsa, like multiple Elsas into that Jasmine and like trade them out. That feels awful. All right, so let's see what else he does with the rest of his ink here. I think we see another Dumbo maybe. So he's inking the other Dumbo, and then he's going to put down Ursula and Royal Guard here. So completely wiped his hand clean. He is now top decking, but that's a lot of great cards out on the board. And whenever he boosts that Ursula next turn, he'll be able to draw 3 with the Dumbo, which is crazy. Okay, so we see You're Welcome, a John Silver, and something else in Trevor's hand. All right, so Cal exerts. Oh, okay, so he's going to quest with Cal and then hard cast You're Welcome onto the Cal. But I definitely don't hate that turn. Yeah, the only problem with Trevor's build is that he's not. I don't think he's running the John Silver or the Prince John package. So he's not running the Prince John package, which he really would like to have for the board that R&B has now, because like one John Silver package and he just wins the game. So let's see what he draws into here. So he's still got 5 ink to work with. He drew in to Stop Chaos in its tracks and Akita. And I think a Donald Duck maybe is what I saw in his hands. So we're going to ink Akita, John Silver onto the Ursula, which will stop the Ursula from questing next turn. Obviously, it's not going to stop it from using Dumbo's ability and drawing an extra card if that's what R&B decides to do. But R&B is getting, Trevor's getting closer to winning this game. He is at 13 now, and he's representing 17 on the board currently. So yeah, we're going to see Ursula get the evasive with the boost, and then use Dumbo's ability. Again. Wow, the Royal Guard is going to be able to probably take out, or it's going to be close to be able to take out Jasmine with the card draw there, which feels awful. And he is. Yeah, he is going to take it out. So, yeah, he had 1 for turn and 3 for the Dumbos there. So, yeah, it's a big turn for that Royal Guard with those evasives with Dumbo there. So, we'll see the triple lantern activation into another Ursula. Yeah, this is really tough for Trevor's build here. If Trevor was running the Prince Philip package, then, like, you can clear this. But otherwise, those Ursulas are really scary. I mean, the Ursula's really scary no matter what build you're running, but especially with this build here, it's like, how are you going to get rid of those? And now R&B is kind of catching up on lore as well. Like, R&B is sitting at 9, and like he's representing 12, 15, 16, 17 on the board now. All right, so let's see if Trevor can find himself a way out of this. So we'll see a Donald Duck come down, which is going to give both players a card draw at the beginning of Trevor's turn. We're going to see the Clarabelle come down to get rid of the guidebook, which is pretty good. We'll see John Silver quest, give Request to one of the Ursulas, and he'll pass it back over to R&B. R&B sitting with 1 in his hands. Definitely would have liked to have that guidebook to draw an extra card next turn. Let's see what he top decks here. So again, if he just quests and ignores what Trevor has. Oh, but he can't. I'm sorry, he can't ignore what Trevor has, because Trevor has lethal on board next turn. He wins next turn. So R&B has to take out John Silver or Donald Duck or Clarabelle somehow, right? Like, one of those cards has to go out. So he's going to start off by drawing with Dumbo. Go to 10. And it's always fun as the green blue player, if you ever get to a point where you're like this, where like it's usually the other player that's kind of like trying to quest and get to lethal to like get you out of the game. But sometimes it goes the other way, like it is right now, where Trevor is just putting the pressure on R&B to Have to clean up some board here and win the game. And the problem for RMB is that if he doesn't draw into World's Greatest Criminal Minds, I think he found it. No, he didn't. Okay, it's Royal Guard. Okay, so Royal Guard ends up being is probably we have a Demona. Okay, that's really good. The Demona is really good because the Demona is going to allow him to just like hit that Elsa into a Clarabelle, which does not allow Trevor now can't win the game next turn. And that Ursula can swing into Donald Duck, and so they don't have to really trade out either. So before that Demona came down, that one of the Ursulas was gonna have to be banished when they challenged into the John Silver. Currently, like they're both just gonna live. So we see Godbook being played and activated for 3 there. See Horseman Strikes get inked, and let's see what he does here. So Elsa could clean up Clarabelle. But I mean, he could also still like draw cards here. Like he doesn't really have to clear too much church boards. Like one thing has to be banished. All right, so let's see what he ends up doing here. Because he could go Ursula and Elsa into the Donald Duck and take it out, which is exactly what he's going to do. Just stop a card draw from Trevor and the 2 lore gain, which is important. Now I would expect him probably just to quest with Ursula to get to 13. Okay, well, just kidding. We're going to go and clean up here just to make sure that we don't like shift to Clarabelle. And I mean, it wouldn't win the game for him, but would definitely give him an opportunity to draw some more cards or, get some more value for sure. Okay, so pass it back over to Trevor. Trevor's writing up everything. R&B's representing what, 3, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11 on the board currently. So he does have the game on the board. Obviously, Trevor can give Ursula Reckless and stay alive one more turn. But if you're looking at the timer at the top of the screen too, like we only have 21 minutes left to finish this game. So, this game 1 and game 2 have taken a good amount of time. Not that either player is slow playing, because they're definitely not, but there's a lot of decisions that have had to be made in this game. All right, so we will quest with John Silver, give Ursula Reckless, as expected there, get to 17, and then we'll activate Clarabelle to draw some cards, and then he'll be able to activate Cinderella to ink and draw. Okay, so I think he drew into the 1-cost Jasmine. So if he did draw into, I'm not sure how many of the Shift Jasmines he's running, but he could potentially draw into that next turn, which would give him an opportunity to put RMB's board back to his hands. All right, so yeah, RMB's got a lot of decisions to be made here. So we see we see hands held high in Trevor's hand. So okay, this is crazy stuff's happening here. So next turn, if he draws into Under the Sea, hands held high Under the Sea is going to like wipe RMB's board. That's good. He has the Jasmine. If he draws into the shift line, also clears RMB's board. That's really good. He does have Stop Chaos in his track, so like he can do hands held high, Stop Chaos, and bounce back multiple. Yeah. So wow, it's RMB's board is just very, very scary. And he's quested up to 16 now. So like I don't think Stop Chaos is gonna save it. But it could bounce back both Ursulas. Okay, the Ago coming down is tough. If he didn't have anything else to play this turn, I think Trevor will be in a decent spot to like have a chance to stop one more turn. We see Royal Guard come down as well. I mean, the good thing for Stop Chaos is that you can it heals as well, so you can actually target the Iago. But he's able to play another Demona, and unfortunately for Trevor, he has 3 cards in his hands, so nothing to. Okay, so we'll see Royal Guard take out Cinderella. We'll see Demona take out John Silver. And then pass it back over to Trevor. So, okay. So Trevor, I think, has one out here, and I think he has a draw into the sea. I think that's his only out. He does not. Draws into John Silver. I think that's a scoop. Because he could definitely play Stop Chaos to bounce back. Let's see, because he could play Stop Chaos to bounce back. We could go Hands Out High and Stop Chaos. But I don't think it's going to be enough, right? If he had infinite ink this turn, I think he could probably stall. But he definitely does not have infinite ink, right? Because if he could hit Clarabelle into something, play Hands Out High. But I think even then, because I think Stop Chaos only bounce two back to your opponent's hands. Like he could get rid of both Ursulas. He could hit Clarabelle into the Demona, but then the other Demona, and he has a John Silver. So again, infinite ink. This world, the infinite ink exists. He could play the John Silver and stall the Demona, but then there's still backing up. That would stall the game, but that would also be like 30 ink to be played one turn, which would be impossible. So that was game 2. We're jumping into game 3 here. So again, both players are gonna. We got 17 minutes left, which is enough time to play. So we'll let them kind of clean up here, shuffle their decks, and we'll dive into game 3. All right. So in the game 3, Trevor starts off by inking John Silver, plays the Clarabelle, and this game has to be done in 14 minutes, which is tough. So both players are going to pick up the pace here a little bit just to make sure. All right, so we do see the ramp. We see Sail, so we're gonna Inka John Silver, and Sail. Inka Tipo will quest with Clarabelle to go to 1 and pass it over to R&B. What's tough for Trevor is now he's inked 2 John Silvers, which feels sad. Wow, look at his hand though. He has double Sail in his hand to steal and a Cinderella. So next turn probably ink a Sail into the Cinderella. Okay, so R&B gets down his lantern and passes. Oh, man. Trevor's hand is really interesting because he basically can just infinite ramp if he wanted to. We're going to see the Sail ink into the Cinderella. We're going to quest with the Clarabelle to go to 2, and we'll see the Cinderella ability activate here as well. And let's see what he puts into the inkwell. I'm not sure what it was. It was too quick. But he did ink, draw, pass it back over to R&B. So, yeah, again, Trevor, I think all 3 games has been able to get Cinderella down on turn 3, which is great. Okay, we see a Mowgli come down, and unfortunately for R&B, Trevor's hand is Double Jasmine and Donald Duck. So nothing's going to get rid of there. All right, so unfortunately for R&B, that Mowgli doesn't generate any value. But he does know what Trevor has in his hand here, which is good. All right, so the Jasmine just comes down here straight on the board. It was not shifted, so doesn't get anything out of it, but it's still a 6 cost 5/5 that quests for 2. So it's still a good body on the board for Trevor. It just didn't get that actual, it return all exerted characters to the player's hands ability, which, if his Clarabelle or Cinderella was exerted, he would be able to bounce those back to his hands. Not that he needed to, but all right, we see another Mowgli come down from R&B, and he's just like, hey, did you top deck a action or something that I can get rid of? And the answer is unfortunately no. See Cheshire Cat come down for R&B now. Okay, so now wow, of course. Double Mowgli for Trevor, and then he draws into Stop Chaos the very next turn. That feels awful. That feels awful from the Amber Amethyst player, just to miss that value there. So yeah, I think interesting turn here for Trevor. Does he just go ahead and bounce back Cheshire Cat and one of the Mowgli's to R&B's hands? No, so we're just gonna play another Jasmine again. Like we're just gonna use that 6 cost 5/5 body because there's just not a lot that R&B can really do about it. We're gonna quest with the Clarabelle, and we're gonna sing Stop Chaos onto Cheshire Cat and the Clarabelle. There we go. I like that a lot. Okay. R&B's like, can you do that? And you can. So now since the Cheshire Cat's gone, like that Cinderella is safe. Oh, and the Jasmine's also a princess, which I didn't catch last time, so he is able to activate Cinderella's ability again. All right, so R&B is just like sitting there with 2 Mowglis on the board, which is never what you're looking for. And yeah, this is it's yeah, awkward for R&B here just because like that Cheshire Cat is like such a nice card for him. Generate value. Okay, so we do see the genie come down with the lantern, so only for 3. So he can't ink and play something else if he has it. See the Demona ink into a Royal Guard, which the Royal Guard just infinite value out of that card. Really good, really good this series. Okay, we see the Clarabelle and Clarabelle shift in Trevor's hand, so I would imagine that's what's going to come down. He's going to get some value here. Yeah, the Royal Guard took out the Jasmine last game, which is good. All right, we're gonna stop Chaos and bounce back Royal Guard and Genie to R&B's hands. So like those Mowglis are just like standing out there together alone, unfortunately. And now we'll see the Clarabelle and the 1 cost Clarabelle come down. And we'll quest out with Jasmine for 2 to get to 5. And then he'll be able to draw, I think, 5 cards. Yeah, so he's going to get to draw 5 cards here. So good value there for Trevor. And R&B, unfortunately, is just everything's just going back to his hands. And looking at Trevor's hand, I think he has double your welcome. So anything that R&B plays here can get bounced away as well. Inks of Hades here. So yeah, like I said, just very awkward. We're gonna see 5 cost and the Ursula come down here for 4, and then for 2 we'll see Royal Guard and Eloise come down. Let's pass it back over to Trevor. Yeah, and I imagine that Ursula's gonna get your welcome to this turn. Because if you quest out here at 6, 7, 8, it's gonna put him at 13. Yeah, so we're gonna see the You're Welcome come down onto the Ursula as expected. That card just like can't stay on the board if you're playing against, as a blue-green player. Like that card just can't persist because it's so hard to deal with once it gets boosted. All right, let's see what he follows it up with. You're Welcome onto the Lantern, which is going to stop R&B from getting more value off of that and trying to catch back up after these cards just get, just removed from the board. Wow. And he's going to play all 3 You're Welcomes. Onto the Royal Guard, going back to his deck. Um, and it feels bad, but it's like it happens, right? It definitely happens. And so now Trevor will be able to quest out with everything on his board. Um, Inga Jasmine, play Jasmine. Um, quest out for 7 to go to 12. And then he's going to get to draw a lot of cards because he made R&B draw so many cards this turn with those You're Welcomes. All right, so passes back over to R&B. This game is just in such a rough spot for R&B here. Um, yeah, just like he has all the good cards in his hand, he just can't play them because Trevor just kept bouncing them all back to his hands or your welcomes or all kinds of stuff. So yeah, R&B concedes game 3, which I mean, what could he do really? Like these are just unwinnable positions. So, but yeah, great game for both players. Tough to watch for R&B, especially game 3 there, where just like everything kept getting bounced back to his hand, and he just really couldn't do anything, and really couldn't even play the game, which is really tough. So, anyways, congrats to our green blue player for winning that game in round 12. And yeah, so if you enjoyed the match, feel free to subscribe and like the video, and hopefully we will see you in the next one.